AI isn't profitable. It's a bubble. Haven't we learned anything? These lines get repeated so often we take them at face value. They warn us. Don't get carried away. Don't repeat the mistakes of past hype cycles. But pause for a second. These aren't neutral observations. They're arguments. Arguments that shape how we think about risk, innovation, and the future. To unpack this, I want to use a framework called ActFoE, short for Action Follows Evidence. The idea is simple. When someone makes a claim, we don't just ask whether it's true or false. We ask what the claim is doing. What ethical assumptions does it carry? Who benefits? What happens if it's applied universally? In other words, ActFoE treats claims as actions in the world, not just words on a page. First claim: AI isn't profitable. On its face, this sounds like a simple financial statement, but history tells us that demanding profits too early is a recipe for killing revolutions before they start. Take the railroads. In the 1970s, investors poured money into laying track across America. Many lines went bankrupt. Fortunes were lost. But the tracks remained. Later, financiers like J.P. Morgan stitched those failed lines into national systems that powered American industry for a century. Or consider Amazon. For nearly 20 years, Wall Street mocked it as a money-losing bookstore. Yet in that time, it quietly built the logistics and cloud infrastructure that now underpins global commerce. ActFoE calls this a reductio test. What happens if we apply the claim universally? If the rule is no profits, no investment, then no railroads, no internet, no Amazon. The claim collapses under its own weight. Second claim: it's a bubble. The word is meant to scare us, but bubbles are not always signs of failure. They are often the messy, wasteful, but necessary way societies build infrastructure. The railroad bubble left behind track and depots. The dot-com bubble left behind fiber optic cables and data centers. The wreckage became the backbone. So when someone says AI is a bubble, ActFoE asks us to notice what's implied: that bubbles are inherently bad, that they should be avoided. But history shows the opposite. The bubble is often the price of building the backbone. Third claim: haven't we learned anything? This line is powerful because it appeals to shame. It suggests that if we invest in AI, despite the risks, we are foolish, like children who never learn. But what exactly are we supposed to have learned? If the lesson is don't invest in unprofitable infrastructure, then we've learned the wrong lesson. If the lesson is don't confuse blockchain with AI, then we're on firmer ground. Blockchain stumbled because its costs outweighed its benefits. By 2021, Bitcoin alone was burning as much electricity as a mid-sized country. That made proof-of-work blockchains look unsustainable. And beyond crypto, companies tried blockchain in supply chains, finance, even energy. But the pilots hit the same wall: too complex, too slow, too hard to integrate, and too little payoff. Add in regulatory uncertainty and the stigma of wasteful mining, and adoption stalled. In practice, the hype ran far ahead of the reality. AI is different. Its compute costs are high, yes, but the value it produces already outweighs the expense. In logistics, in healthcare, in fraud detection, in translation, even in creativity, AI is delivering real benefits today. ActFoE asks us to consider who benefits from these claims. If people believe AI is just a bubble, the status quo is preserved. Existing industries and elites face less disruption. Speculators benefit too, because fear drives valuations down. letting them buy in cheap. Critics benefit reputationally because if a crash comes, they can say, "I told you so." None of this makes the claim false, but it shows it is not neutral. Claims are moves in a game. The deeper ethical dilemma here is between suitability and acceptability. Suitability asks, can AI become essential infrastructure? Acceptability asks, is it profitable now? If we privilege acceptability, we kill suitability. If we privilege suitability, we tolerate bubbles. This is the real tension. And so we arrive at the payoff. The bubble is not proof of failure. It is the turbulence of a system laying down its tracks. To demand profitability now is to confuse the signal of maturity with the signal of revolution. Investors who remain calm are not naive. They are betting, as history has always rewarded, on tomorrow's infrastructure rather than today's quarterly returns. ActFoE shows us that the refrain, AI isn't profitable, it's a bubble, haven't we learned anything, is not just a warning, it's a trap. It tempts us to confuse blockchain's collapse with AI's trajectory, to privilege short-term acceptability over long-term suitability, and to let negativity bias paralyze action. The right lesson is not avoid bubbles. The right lesson is anchor bubbles in evidence, rights, and reciprocity, and recognize them as the storm that clears the way for the backbone of tomorrow. In other words, it's business as usual.